Okay, we need to adjourn our special meeting that we were in at 5 p.m. for the purpose of attorney-client privilege. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Bonnick, support by Antoine. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You have that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, welcome, everyone. We are going to do call to order for tonight's meeting. Ms. Rice?
Mr. Antoine?
Here.
Mrs. Bonnick?
Here.
Mrs. Bowman?
Here.
Mr. Boyer?
Here.
Mr. Hockey?
Here.
Mrs. Eichhorst?
Here. All right. Before we begin tonight, there's just been a lot that has happened on a national level and even a local level. I know in Macomb County, a lot of families have lost students to different things. So just to be appropriate, I would like to have a moment of silence that we can stand for, and then I will lead us into the pledge following that. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, may I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Bowman,
Support.
supported by Bonnick. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we are going to go ahead with our presentations.
Annual rite of passage, it's our September regular meeting, and because of the diligence of Mrs. Lasky and the Business Services Office for the tail end of summer, we're ready to present the audit results for this year. I know that the Finance Subcommittee spent a little bit more in-depth look at this, so that probably get a chance in your committee report to add anything else. But Vicki, I don't know if you want to reference our guest and invite him up.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, this is Kellen Riker from Yo and Yo, and he worked with our team on the audit, and I'll get the...
There you go.
Perfect.
All right, thanks.
Which sponge is this one next?
Yep,
I'm assuming.
that'll go for
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Again, Kellen Riker from Yo and Yo. Thanks for having me. I want to thank Vicki and her team. We're able to do this in such a quick turnaround because they're always prepared, always ready. So it's always nice to come. Makes my job way easier. So here's our audit results. We're going to first go over the opinion. Today we had an unmodified opinion this year. We've had it every year, but in short, what that means is the financial records and statements are fairly and appropriate presented in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. Even shorter, it means that the statements are free from material misstatement. It's the highest level assurance you can have as well. Next, we're going to go over just the financial statements here. This is going to be our assets and liabilities and deferred inflows of resources. For our major funds, we're always going to have the general fund, and then this year we had 3 of our facility bonds funds. Just want to point out a few things. We had $76 million in cash and investments together. But if you look at that, we had $48 million that's in our bond facility funds. So that's money that we're currently holding that we're going to spend down with those. And then you can see a majority of our liabilities here. About $10 million is in our accounts payable, which is mainly for our bond facility funds. And then our accrued salaries payable, which is for all of our employees that we pay through August. Next slide here goes over our fund balances. You can see in total for our governmental funds, we have fund balance of $75.7 million. A lot of it is tied up with where it is. For example, food service, all the fund balance there is restricted for food service. But we do have about $17 million in unassigned fund balance in the general fund, which is a good, healthy amount there. It would have been about $20 million, but we already assigned $2.8 million. We budgeted for more expenditures and revenues for the 25-26 school year in the general fund. Next slide here goes over our statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Goes over each of our major funds. Just kind of want to point out our change in fund balance for a few of them. You'll see that the 2022 Facility Bond Fund, we had $18 million that we spent over revenues, and the Facility Bond Funds, that's what we do. We bring in the money the first year, we spend them down the next. And then the 2024 and 2025 bond funds, we brought that money in this year. So that's why we haven't spent too much down yet. Next is our budgetary comparison. Shows our original budget, our final budget, and our actual numbers for the general fund. You can see the difference here in revenues was less than 1%, and expenditures is 3.4%. We'd like to see that within 3 to 5% between final budget and actual, which is right where we hit. It shows we're fiscally responsible, and we're making a good guess, a great change, trying to get that final budget as close to actual as possible. And you can also see that we added $3.5 million to the fund balance in general fund. Now I'm going to kind of show you a pie chart. I'm a visual person of where all of our general fund revenues came from. So our federal expenditures is $2.1 million this year. It's actually a $2.4 million decrease from last year. That's due to not having any more of the COVID monies that we got from federal funds. Interdistrict stayed steady, went up about $200,000. Local revenues went up about $900,000. That's just taxable values and taxes coming in mainly. And then our state revenues at 77% went up $1.8 million. And a lot of that's based on our pupil count and what we get per pupil. And our student count actually went up 100 students this year, which is really good. Next slide shows our expenditures. And actually, every single one of these categories stayed really steady with last year. Salaries and employee benefits went up $500,000. Purchase services went up $300,000. Other expenditures went up $100,000, and supplies was $50,000. So slight increases in each one of them. Percentages all stayed the same, and this is generally where we see all of our expenditures, right? Our people, our employees, so 81% of that is where that goes to. Now this chart here, like I said, shows a great improvement in our enrollment. So between 2024 and 2025, with our enrollment numbers, we went up about 100 students. You can see for a while in the whole state of Michigan, we've been seeing a big decrease, but in the last couple of years, we've seen big increases, where it was a decrease in 2024, but we're right back up with our 2023 numbers.
Kelly, can I speak to that just because the slide's up? I want to remind the board that we had the dissolution of the shared time agreement, and that isn't necessarily an actual Romeo enrollment decline. It's we're no longer counting portions of the shared time students at Lutheran High North. But we're going to have this blip on the screen that I think needs to be clarified a couple times a year, and this seems like an appropriate time to clarify that.
Perfect. Thank you, Todd. And the next slide here actually shows our per pupil analysis of revenues and expenditures. So this is how much we're bringing in per student and then spending per student. The green line is going to be our revenues and blue line expenditures. We like to see those, closely intertwined. You can see we bring in about $14,500 per student, and we're spending almost $14,000 per student there as well. All right, next couple slides here is going to go over our fund balance trends. This is just for the general fund. Our MDE says around 15% of your general fund balance as a percentage of your expenditures is where they like to see you, but they also say less than 10% or less is a high risk that we have to make your audit. So it's kind of a small window. I like to see a nice healthy fund balance. So here's going to show our total fund balance. As you can see, over the years, we've continuously increased, other than 2020, which was COVID. Now we're at $20.5 million in fund balance in the general fund. And you can see we added that $3.5 million to fund balance this year. And this next slide shows it as a percentage. Like I said, MDE recommends 15%, but again, they make you a high risk school district, if you're 10% or less, it's a small window. So being at 28 is really healthy, especially with some of the uncertainty with the state trying to pass their budget here. So 28 is good. You can see we continuously grew, so we want to keep that trend as well. Now, this is a short summary of our facility bonds process. We do have the 2020 facility bond as well on the financial statements, but that was substantially complete as of last year. So 2022, we're about halfway through, and then 2024 and 2025, we just issued this year, and we're starting to spend in 25, 26. So you can see there's still quite a bit of money here that we're going to spend in our upcoming projects, which is very exciting. So that was a financial statement audit, and we also had a single audit because we were over $750,000 in federal funds. So got a little summary here. This year we had $3.8 million in federal funding. It's a decrease again from not receiving the COVID funds this year. And our major program was special education cluster that we looked into. And our findings for internal controls and compliance was no financial statement findings, no federal award findings, and we didn't have any findings from prior year that we had to follow up on either. So that was perfect. The last slide here goes over the governance letter. There's some required communications. One's on estimates. These are things that management estimates these values to go into the financial statements. A good example is fixed asset useful lives. How long are we going to use this building? How long are we going to use this vehicle? So that's one of our estimates. Another one's our net pension and OPEB liability. And then the last one's compensated absences. This year we adopted GASB 101 for compensated absences, which made that a little bit more difficult. A little bit more went into that calculation of estimate, but that's one that we adopted this year. And then we also had a couple upcoming standards for the next few years. We have GASB 103 for financial reporting model improvements and GASB 104 for disclosure of certain capital assets. We did have a couple recommendations as well, just management recommendations here. One is for food service fund balance. We are over 3% of, we are over our average of 3 months of expenditures, and that's what MDE recommends to have in our food service fund balance, but a lot of schools are over that because of how much money we keep getting. It's very hard to spend down fiscally responsible. So that's just one of our comments. Again, we have to have that because we're over that 3 months of expenditures. Another one is untimely food service meal claims. This was one that we had on last year. We saw great improvement. We did have an employee leave that was making the food claims, so we were down an employee for a couple of months, and once we got someone right back, once we hired someone in, we were right back on track. So that one's in here. We saw a great improvement. Had to keep it in here just for those couple of months, but probably won't see that next year. And then the last one is our conflict of interest policy enhancement. We do an unpredictability test every year as auditors, something that we're not going to tie out in the financial statements. This year we looked into conflict of interest policies. Our policy is great. It's everything it needs to be. Just making that disclosure and we abstain from voting if we do have that conflict of interest. One thing that we're recommending is possibly looking into that and having an annual disclosure and tracking what those conflicts are. That way maybe a new board member comes on, not quite sure what that means, and that way we're kind of covering ourselves that we're tracking that. So something that we recommend, maybe just looking into it and think about. Any questions?
Did you want to speak about the ESSER monitoring results?
ESSER monitoring results.
Or is that just a Vicky? Oh, okay.
Yes, we did not do that.
Okay, all right.
So I cannot speak on it.
Okay, that's fine.
Can
Anything
you
else?
just expand a little bit on the food service meal claims? I don't know what that,
Yep, so monthly, we have to submit what our meals are. That's how we get reimbursed our revenues. So we have to say, how many meals there were. So on a monthly basis, we should be making those claims, so we bring those revenues in. And there was a couple of months that we didn't do that. We waited, a month or two, and then we made the claim for 2 or 3 months. So, and then we got the revenues in, and everything was what it should be. It just wasn't done on a monthly basis. So, and again, this year was only about 2 months, I think, 2 or 3 months where that fell short because there was some turnover and shorthanded there. Anything else? Well, my information's right there. If you need anything, feel free to reach out. Again, thanks for having me. Thank you, Vicki, for always being prepared. Makes it really easy on our end.
All right. Vicki, do you have any more for us? Okay, all right, just making sure. All right, we are going to move on to our consent action items. This is the approval of general fund bills, financial reports, which you were sent, wire transfer reports, purchasing card expenditures, and then the minutes from our last regular meeting in August.
So moved.
Moved by Bonnet,
Second.
second by Boyer. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to informational updates. We're going to start with communications. I did actually have a communication from a parent who is new to the district and just emailed about a program that they had in their other district regarding security, and had some questions about security at our elementary building. So I just want to communicate that to all of you that I received that, and I will be discussing it more and bringing it up at the security subcommittee meeting, which is in a few weeks. Dr. Robinson, did you have any other communications?
Remember, we spoke last meeting that we had an October deadline for who was going to be our delegate at the state school boards conference and who would be the alternate. So we're time sensitive to that.
Yes,
now.
that is on my docket to reach out this week after.
Okay, so October 2nd. Mrs. Bonnick, might you be attending such conference in your professional capacity?
I am.
Okay. So I'll get back to you
Okay.
in the next couple days on that.
Antoinette, do we report that to the, okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, then we're going to move on to committee reports. I will start with curriculum. We met a couple of weeks ago, and we were going to have a guest from the high school to discuss some novel orders, but they were not able to make it, so we are going to move that to the next meeting. The main topic of our discussion was the 35M funds, which is a grant from the MDE, and it was very restricted on what we could use that for, but there was a couple different options. So we looked at it covering the full expense of our current CKLA third edition that we're in, and then there was going to be some money left over from that, so the committee kind of grappled with some different options, either using it to extend the current edition to 5 years from the current 3 years, or to use it on PD. And this was brought to us actually 2 meetings ago, and the committee, wholeheartedly agreed that we wanted to be able to go back to the teachers and ask what their needs might be for PD. And it was decided that we would use the grant money to cover the full expense for the third edition of CKLA, and then the remaining money is going to go towards professional development and Tier 1 supports for teachers at the elementary level. We also discussed a follow-up to the Power School Behavior Support Software, which was voted in at our August meeting. And we went through some of the questions like who has the ability to put in the software, when will parents be told about the documentation, does this record stay with students. We also talked about how it can document both positive and negative things about students, and the timeline for training would be mid to late fall. So it will not roll out quite yet. And then we wrapped up with just discussing our media selection policy again as it pertains to the library. Any questions on that? All right. We will move on to Mr. Antoine, if you want to share from finance.
Sure, we had our finance committee meeting a week or so ago. I'd just like to point out,
15th.
on the 15th
September
of
15th, Vicki.
September 15th.
The minutes says June on it, so we just got to change it.
Okay. Ms. Bowman and Mr. Boyer and myself were part of that, as well as Ms. Lasky and Dr. Robinson. And we had the guest, Kellen from Yo and Yo. What reflects in the minutes, I'm going to ask Vicki if she could help just explain the MDE ESSER monitoring results and the cash flow. And then the only other item that is in the minutes that we got some information from Mr. Storm late in the week regarding resolution number 88, bus purchase. And then I'd like to invite Ms. Bowman or Mr. Boyer to add anything if they'd like to.
Okay, so the first one was the ESSER. So we had actually kind of 3 audits going on at one time. We had the ESSER audit, IDEA was being audited by the ISD, and then the auditors were in. So everybody was kind of pulling at our strings to get some information. But the ESSER audit, I'm going by memory because I don't have it in front of me. They audited the 2023 year, and that was $2.8 million that they were focusing on for that particular year. So the MDE does that through another auditing firm, and it's just a desk audit, so that means we send them electronically information, and then they send us questions, and we have some Zoom meetings to kind of shore up on any questions that they have. They had no findings or anything. All the expenses were allowable. There was one, what they call a concern. It was $77 that we had coded to the grant that we actually spent out of general fund. But when we reported it to the state, it had this grant code, which is the ESSER fund. So it wasn't money that was needed to be paid back or anything like that. It was just $77 out of $2.8 million. So we felt like that was okay. The cash flow, I'm trying to remember what we talked about on the cash.
Just about the budget before October 10th.
Oh, yes, thank you. So since we don't have a budget established for October, by October 10th is usually the last day that the state makes any changes to the state aid that we get on October 20th. So that's our first state aid payment. We don't get anything in September. Our first one is in October. If we don't have a budget established, or the state doesn't have a budget established, by October 10th, we may not get our state aid payment on October 20th. And I just wanted to let the Finance Committee know, and now the board know, that we do a monthly cash flow where we keep track of how much cash that the district has, and we have sufficient funds to continue operations for October and probably a couple months after that. There may be a point in time, if I can't imagine it'll go any longer than that, but we do keep track of that every month, and we do have sufficient cash. And that's one of the reasons to have a good fund balance, and to also collect our taxes for our property taxes in July, so we can kind of get some money flowing in while the state is waiting to pay us, not in September, but in October. So I think we're in good position.
I would just add, having been at the state superintendent's conference, the interim superintendent said that the Department of Ed is preparing to have additional staffing and focus to turn around the October 20th state aid payment as quickly as they can once the legislature, passes the budget. There's a significant amount of time to go through what can be an extensively long bill and how it applies to funding, but their goal is, they know that there's districts that are relying on that payment for operational costs in a more desperate situation than we might be from a cash flow standpoint.
Thank you.
Was that it? Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Was there anything else, Mr. Antoine, you wanted to share? Okay, any questions from the Finance Committee? All right, moving on to superintendent.
Comment, though.
Okay. Mr. Boyer?
So Kellen has audited us for quite a few years, and he spoke very highly and was very comfortable. So that was very good being through audit, and good job to Vicki. She did a great job, and he's always spoke very highly of her as well. So we'd like to thank her for her efforts there.
Thank you.
All right,
moving
we'll
on to
kick it off with
superintendents.
academic services for the first part of my report.
Good evening. A few things for you this evening, starting with our Professional Learning Day on Wednesday. So those of you who are here or on the board, kids don't have school Wednesday, so work through childcare and the like. We have another full slate. Dr. Robinson will be joining us for a bond presentation, and then the rest of the day is more academic focused. Tier 1 scaffolds for struggling learners, utilizing data to support kids, are all things that are available for us to kind of collaborate and work together on. This coincides with my second bullet. Our NWA testing is complete. My preliminary look at the data seems to indicate that we have a continued positive achievement trend based on new curricular adoption. So we're pleased to see that, and that'll be kind of the foundation of the work that we do in the afternoon on Wednesday, looking at the student data and then trying to make determinations about who we continue to push forward and who we're continuing to provide support to get to grade level or as close to grade level as we can get students do. And then again, third bullet, again, all kind of tied together. Our intervention support is ramping up, and that's tied directly to not only NWA data, but now that teachers have been with students for a little bit of time, some of that localized anecdotal data that becomes recognizable as the school year continues to progress. So like all times of the year, it's a busy time of year, but it's the opportunity for us to kind of set the stage for teaching and learning that's going to happen from now until June. So, questions for me? Okay, thank you.
So staffing update. We're not fully staffed yet. We are in the process of interviewing, and hopefully we'll get some people onboarded soon. We have a really great candidate for the middle school ELA position that Mrs. Vengler left after she became AP there. I think it's Thursday, we're going to do the classroom lesson with her, so fingers crossed. We also, I think, are doing a round 2 interview for the special ed vacancy at Washington. I know that Mr. Murray was part of the reading specialist interview today, and then I believe we're still seeking out a social worker for HP. So not quite done yet, so hopefully we can reach that finish line by the end of this month. Going to some opportunities during professional development on Wednesday. Our year 2 buildings, Romeo Middle School and Hamilton Parsons, will have a Capturing Kids' Hearts recharge. It's a 3-hour session, just kind of grounding them again in the work of capturing kids' hearts. And then Culture Shapers, which we did last year as well, are for the non-professional staff. So I'm hoping to have a room full of paraprofessionals on Wednesday morning, whether they're at a building with CKH or not. Our bus drivers attended last year Culture Shapers, and it was just a great session for them. It's very uplifting. It validates their relationships and importance of working and supporting students in the building. So looking forward to that on Wednesday. And before our next board meeting, we're going to have secondary parent-teacher conferences. So I thought I'd get it on the meeting and get it on the calendar of parents. So middle school is going to come up quickly. They're October 7th and 9th. And then the following week, our high school conferences, October 15th and 16th. Are there any questions? If anyone on the board is available on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., come on over to Romeo Middle School's cafeteria. 3 hours of fun with Culture Shapers. Come on, Mrs. Rice.
What is this Culture Shapers?
It's a high-level view of capturing kids' hearts. So it's not the full 2-day training that they offer for professional staff, but it's an overview of what does it mean to be an Excel leader, what are some things that you do in your role to build the relationships. We talk about connection before content in CKH. So this is working with the support staff, so they can get some professional learning around what's happening in buildings.
So this is the professional development of scaffolding.
It's part of our
Surrounding.
contract,
Yes.
yes.
It's part of the contract.
Yep.
I just never heard of it.
Yep.
This is the first time I'm hearing
Yeah, bus drivers went last year. It was
I'm sure they've gone. I
amazing.
just don't-
Yeah.
I've never heard the name of it.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault.
But yeah, it was great to, like, the bus drivers made connections. We had some food service from the middle school and HP last year, so Amanda Moore is going to send their food service staff, so. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
So Vicki, it's your night at the podium. I just, as always in my report, there's always a resolution or two that I feel like shedding a little light on it prior to the motion getting on the table is of our best interest. And most importantly, when I think it's good for us to have this available to those that attended the meeting tonight or those that might watch the meeting afterwards. So, we're in this weird conundrum where we don't have a state budget, but yet there's things tied to the state budget that are very time sensitive to October 1st. And the universal free breakfast and lunch program is one of those things. So, and we don't know if the legislature is going to continue funding on that. So we have some obligations to our families and to the current status of our program. And so we presented to the Finance Subcommittee about the need to have a plan for some interim support, and Vicki's just going to go through that, and we'll take any questions so that when we get to resolution time, we're in a good position.
So the problem is, as Dr. Robinson said, we don't know what the state is going to do with the Michigan school meals. And in order for us to serve the entire population of our student body with free meals, we need to participate in the community eligibility provision program, and we can't remove ourselves from that. And because if we got ourselves out of the community, we call it CEP, that's easier for me to say. If we get out of CEP, then if Michigan School Meals comes back and is in the budget, then we won't be, and CEP requires, we're required to be in CEP to serve the free meals, so we wouldn't be able to go back. So we're going to stay with community eligibility provision. We need a 30-day window if the state decides that we don't have free meals, then we have a 30-day window that we have to notify, and it's 30 operating days, so that means we count all the days that we serve meals, not weekends and holidays and professional development days. We have a 30-day window which we have to allow our families to apply for free or reduced lunches, and we would go back to the normal way we did it prior to COVID. If the state does the Michigan School Meals Program, we'll stay in CEP and we will continue to operate as we've been doing it. What's really been up in the air is whether we are allowed to use some of our fund balance from our excess fund balance in food service to cover these costs. And it was back and forth, but because we are a CEP district, we are allowed to use our fund balance, excess fund balance, to support that for that 30 operating day window. So at first we thought maybe it would come out of general fund, but there's been some recent changes that we were told that we can use our food service fund balance. So it's a good use of the fund balance, and the money is there, so we will be able to operate and use that fund balance in the meantime until there's a decision made. If the budget were to be into mid-October before it got passed, then we would start our 30-day countdown from that point. So it may be a little bit more than we projected in the resolution, but as you can see, it's a few $100,000 every month. We wouldn't be able to sustain that for the entire school year. So we would need to say, all right, school meals are ended, families, we need to notify you, and you need to apply for the free meals and reduced meals if you need them. So does that make it clear for you? Okay.
So for Finance Committee members, this is different, because at that time,
Right.
breakfast, yes, lunch, not so much. The MDE is communicated to, food service directors or the business office that if you have that fund balance, you'd be able to support it. So there is not a general fund expenditure here should the resolution pass. It would all be supported for the term of the 30 operating days from our fund balance.
Okay, good, thank you.
So in short, there's two possible outcomes. The fiscal year 26 state budget passes with the Michigan School Meals Program intact, and we would continue to do what we're doing because we're not going to interrupt our CEP status. Or the fiscal year 26 state budget passes, not including the Michigan School Meals Program, and the district would take the 30-day operating day timeframe to let families know so that they have the opportunity to submit applications for, the free or reduced pricing. And then we would transition into essentially the way we did it before this MSM, with free breakfast and lunch came into play.
And the CEP would go away, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So just to clarify, this is not removing free and reduced lunch, because sometimes that's what people hear. That is, it may, worst case scenario,
Right.
take away the free breakfast and lunch for all.
Correct. Correct. But we would still have, that's a federal program, is
Right.
the free
That's
and
not the
reduced
thing in
lunches.
question.
The Michigan was kicking in the rest for everyone to be free. It's, the federal
Universal.
government is still doing the free and the reduced meals through that. Yep.
So we're bringing the resolution to the board because we just, it's time to say how we're going to handle this. And had we had a budget by July 1st, like we're supposed to, we would have already been able to position ourselves and do whatever we needed to do long before the school year started. So this is just another one of the ramifications of what's happening in Lansing, not allowing school districts and school boards, to be in a position to make the timely decisions that we would.
And to expand on what you said, Rachel, if they can apply for it, if it does go away, on either the free or the reduced, it has to be applied for.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Back to pre-2020, the way
Yes,
it always
exactly.
was.
So we don't know, we don't have an inkling on which direction they're going. We just don't know.
No.
Yeah, it literally could go either way. Okay.
I could voice that a little differently, Mrs. Rice, but I won't. That was very politely said. So the board met their requirement to pass a budget by June 30th.
Got it.
So I also have Mr. Storm and Mr. Tolis here, and we have a change order that we had discussed at the Facilities Committee. We've already done that report to the board, but Barton Mallow asked for some time to go back out and seek a more comprehensive quote estimate on our desire to add additional sidewalk and fencing to that athletic complex with the new baseball and softball field. So the board's seen this in your packet. We want to be able to fence off that facility, primarily when we have events at Barnabo that we don't want the public onto the, sometimes the youngest guests in our audience have a tendency to wander to play. So this would just allow us the ability to fence the facilities off. Also, we've got a tennis match going on, and we don't need to have anyone back on the rest of the complex. And so there is some extremely tired concrete around the outside of the back of the building here. That's kind of that light blue area that we had talked initially about just replacing or not to replace it. And then we began to think about, the hundreds of people that come to be spectators and the fact that we're building in the renovation restrooms into the building that are closer than the concession stand at Barnable, and also a serving window for concessions during those contacts. And we're creatures of habit. We like to walk the straight line in between where I am and where I want to go. And so that darker blue is just expanding the sidewalk footprint to keep people on sidewalks and give people some area around the serving window, if they're waiting in line and that. So any questions in regards to this change order?
Is the light blue area also going to be replaced?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, in the
Yes.
resolution. So to the credit of Mr. Tolis and friends and their diligence, the fact that we went back out and allowed them the extra time saved us about $25,000, I think, on the project. So, so 72 and some change for this.
And the red line is the proposed fencing, right?
Yes, additional fencing.
Additional, okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't close, like, the concession and restrooms are open for events on this side.
Right.
Whereas the Barnabo concessions,
Yes.
okay.
And currently, tennis matches use the restrooms and concession at the stadium.
Okay.
But we'll have gates where you know what I'm saying? There'd be the ability, if we wanted to utilize that for tennis, should Mr. Smith desire to do so. Okay. So just one update on the bond. You know, I'm doing my best to be a little bit of everywhere this month because absentee ballots. So one of the things that we began advertising about a week ago is, in addition to the parent presentations that I'm doing at each school for their parent meetings, we know that every parent isn't available at the time of those meetings, but we also want to offer the opportunity for anyone in the community to be updated on the information should they choose to come to an in-person informational presentation. So this Thursday at Washington Elementary, and then we wait 2 Thursdays later on October 9th, we'll be at Hevel Elementary. Both of those are at 6:30 p.m. in the evening. And then a little closer to actual election day, we're actually going to host one of those in the morning at Croswell in the big training room at 9:30 a.m. And that would afford for, you know, some of our voters, you know, closer to the election that might not be absentee voters. You know, sometimes we push all of our information out in the first half of the campaign, but this is an intentional effort to offer them an opportunity to come closer to Election Day. I didn't put it on the slide, but we know in the past that with like the presidential election, there's been extra days of early in-person voting that is not required in a special election, and so from what we understand from our clerk's offices, they have to offer 8 hours on either the Saturday or Sunday prior to Election Day, and so we're awaiting for them to push out that information, and we, of course, will share it with the community. So 3 community forums coming up that anyone is open to attend, including our parents who might not have been able to make the parent informational presentation at their meeting.
Dr. Robinson,
and-
can I back, how
Sure.
will that be communicated to the community at large?
We're pushing it out on social media.
Okay. I'm thinking of like some
is-
elderly voters that probably would
Yeah.
appreciate the morning one, so that's
Yep.
nice that you have
We've
that.
also asked the municipalities in their circle to push it out as
Okay.
well. So the board, of course, knows because we took some action at the last regular meeting to kind of sneak up on Mr. Breinert because this just isn't his nature. But he is excited, and his family certainly is. And so just a reminder that this Friday at 4 p.m. At the new field at Romeo Middle School, it's our official naming ceremony, which is really just a public celebration. So we've invited, of course, our staff, and we've shared it in our communication circles. We've also reached out to our cable outlets, our municipalities, and some other people we know who have, some pretty significant social media presence or footprint. So we're looking forward to a short ceremony, some light refreshments, and the sign looks a little different, or the scoreboard looks a little different now. However, we do have the sign tarped until Friday because we want to unveil that as a part of the ceremony. So anyone and everyone is welcome, and there's just a lot of people. There's a lot of people who, have just provided comment that they're not able to attend, but, a thank you message to Greg, that, might not even have kids or might not work here anymore, but he's certainly an influential guy and doesn't expect or want any of this attention, but he's certainly deserving. So, so we're looking forward to that. That's all that I have for tonight.
All right, I do not have any public comment sheets. Just a reminder that we do have a second public comment if anyone wishes to speak, and you would need to fill out a yellow slip in the back and turn it into Ms. Varga over here prior to that second public comment. So we are going to move on to our regular action items. The first one deals with our personnel update. Hopefully you all read your packet over the weekend. It's quite a few names on there. But we will start with Resolution 86, Personnel Update. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Bonnet,
Support.
supported by Bowman. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Employee Services Resolution number 87. This has to do with the District Administrator Evaluation Tool approval.
Motion.
Motion by Antoine,
Support.
support by Bonnet. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next resolution, Business Services Resolution number 88. This has to do with the 2021 bond purchase of buses, which was in your Finance Committee notes.
Motion.
Support. Motion by Antoine, support by Chahaki. Any questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to Business Services Resolution 88. This is the annual financial audit, which we heard about extensively tonight, and also in the Finance Committee notes. Do I have a motion? Motion. Motion by Bowman,
Support.
support by Antoine. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Business Services Resolution number 90, that had to do with the universal free meal temporary continuation, which we heard about from Ms. Lasky.
Motion?
Motion by Boyer. Support. Support by Rice. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on, the Superintendent Resolution number 91 for student readmission.
Motion. Support.
Who is the motion by?
Me.
Chahaki, support by Bonnet. Okay, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1. Okay, moving on to Facilities Resolution number 92, Romeo High School's athletic complex change order, which we heard about tonight in Dr. Robinson's report.
Motion.
Motion by
Support.
Antoine, support by Bonnet. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, moving on to any board discussion for the good of the district. Quiet tonight? All right.
I did see your email on the dates, and I'll get with you on
Okay,
that.
all right, no problem. Yes, hopefully you saw my email on the dates for our follow-up with Mr. Hollings. So if you could respond to that this week. I know we have a lot of different emails responding about dates, but if you could look at that this week, I'd appreciate it. Anything else? All right, I don't see any public comments. So do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Motion by
Support.
Chahaki, support by Boyer. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good night. Thank you
Go
for coming,
Lions.
everyone.